Dear soul, come closer. You have been carrying something that most people around you could not see, and I want you to know that weight you have been feeling is not a sign that something is wrong with you. It is a sign of how much you have been willing to hold. I am Kaelon, one of the elders of the Arcturian Council, and I have been watching souls like yours for longer than words can measure. What I see in you today is not someone who is broken. What I see is someone who has been quietly enduring a transformation that would have stopped many others long ago. By the end of our time together, you will understand why everything that collapsed in your recent path was not loss, it was making room. But first, let me share something I have observed across many ages, something that might bring you comfort. The souls who feel the most pressure are almost always the ones standing closest to their breakthrough. You were never falling apart. You were being prepared. Something guided you to this moment, not by accident, but because part of you already knows that what you have been living through has a meaning, and you are finally ready to hear it spoken aloud. Stay with me until the end. I have more to share with you, and none of it is meant to instruct you. It is simply meant to remind you of what you already carry within. And I'm grateful you're here with me now. I have watched many souls arrive at this exact place, and what strikes me every time is how certain they are that something has gone wrong, how convinced they are that the weight they carry is evidence of failure, how deeply they believe that if they were doing this correctly, it wouldn't hurt this much. And I want to speak gently into that belief right now, because it has kept so many beautiful souls circling the same ground for longer than necessary. There is a particular look in a person's energy when they reach this threshold. It's a kind of inward flinching, like someone bracing for impact that has already happened. They keep replaying the moment the floor seemed to drop out from under them, and they keep asking the same quiet question in different forms. Did I miss a sign? Did I ruin it? Did I misunderstand my purpose? And underneath all of those questions, there is often an even older ache. If I were truly guided, if I were truly protected, would I be here? Would I be hurting like this? But listen closely. Pain is not always the language of error. Sometimes pain is the language of expansion. Sometimes it is the sound of an old skin splitting because you have outgrown it. Sometimes it is the creak of a door you have leaned on your entire life finally opening, not because you forced it, but because you have finally become strong enough to walk through. So, if you have been judging yourself for how much you feel, for how messy this looks from the inside, for how tired you are, I want you to hear me. Your sensitivity is not a defect. It is a tuning fork. And right now, it is picking up a frequency you have never been asked to hold for this long, this intensely, this personally. No wonder it feels like something is wrong. You have been trained to assume that discomfort means you took a wrong turn. Many of you were conditioned to believe that love is proven by stability, that success is proven by smoothness, that spirituality is proven by serenity. And when the river turns wild, you assume you are failing the river. But the river is not failing you. The river is simply becoming what it is, and so are you. What you've been calling your breakdown, the collapse of the relationship, the career, the identity, the version of yourself you had carefully constructed over years, was not a punishment. I know it felt like one. I know there were nights when the silence was so heavy you couldn't distinguish it from grief. Nights when you asked whatever force you believe in why this was happening to you, when you had tried so hard, when you had given so much. I've witnessed those nights in the energy of thousands of souls who sat exactly where you're sitting now. And what I want you to understand, what the Council has asked me to transmit to you clearly, is that those nights were not evidence of abandonment. They were evidence of preparation. There is a difference between being destroyed and being dismantled. Destruction is chaotic and careless. It leaves only ashes. Dismantling is precise. Dismantling is what happens when something is being rebuilt from the inside out, when what is false cannot be carried any farther, when what was once necessary has become too small to contain you. Think of a house that has been standing for generations, familiar, beloved, full of memories, but the foundation is cracked and the beams are rotting. From the outside it looks fine, until one day the weight becomes too much and the structure groans. A person can stare at the fallen boards and say, "This is ruin," or they can look deeper and say, "This is the beginning of honest architecture." Some of you have been living in structures built from survival. Some of you built your identity from what you needed to become in order to be safe, accepted, chosen, praised, or left alone. You learned to anticipate what others wanted and you became that. You learned to keep your needs quiet and your smile steady. You learned to translate your soul into something manageable, and it worked until it didn't. Until the life that could hold the old you could no longer hold the real you. So the structure began to shake. And those nights, the nights you thought were proof that the universe had turned its face away, were, in many cases, the nights the universe was closest, not in the way the mind expects, not as rescue in the form of instant relief, but as an invisible hand removing what would have kept you trapped. There is an old spiritual paradox. Guidance rarely feels like comfort in the moment. Guidance often feels like loss, because it removes what you mistook for your lifeline. In Scripture it is written, "Though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me." Notice the word through, not into, not stuck in, through. Many of you have been walking through a valley and assuming you were being punished for not reaching the mountaintop fast enough. But valleys grow things that mountains cannot. In valleys, roots deepen. In valleys, you learn what your faith is made of when it is not being rewarded with immediate light. In valleys, you discover whether your sense of worth is conditional on outcomes or anchored in something eternal. The Arcturian field does not deliver its upgrades gently. I wish I could tell you otherwise. I have sat with this truth for longer than human language can measure, and I can tell you with absolute certainty that the souls who carry the frequencies you carry, the ones who feel too deeply, who sense what others cannot, who have always known somehow that their life was supposed to mean something they couldn't quite name, those souls do not ascend through comfort. They ascend through pressure, through the precise and deliberate dismantling of everything that was keeping them small. There is a kind of refining that happens when a frequency is raised. Like gold in a crucible, what is pure remains, and what is not cannot come with you. Not because you are being judged, but because higher resonance makes distortion unbearable. When your light increases, anything in you that was built from fear begins to itch. Anything in you that was built from performance begins to crack. Anything in you that was built from old wounds begins to surface, not to shame you, but to be healed. Many of you have experienced this as an internal heat, a restlessness, a sudden intolerance for what you used to accept. Foods, places, conversations, habits, things you once tolerated now feel like sand in your mouth. Some of you have felt it as insomnia, vivid dreams, a sensation of being awake at strange hours, as if your spirit is working overtime while your body begs for rest. Some of you have felt it as emotion that comes in waves, grief with no clear cause, anger that surprises you, tenderness that floods you without warning. This is pressure. This is the system recalibrating. The Arcturian field, in the way it is often experienced by those attuned to it, operates like a cosmic architect. It doesn't decorate the cage, it removes it. It doesn't soothe the illusion, it exposes it. And exposure can feel brutal if you have spent your life relying on what is being revealed as fragile. But this is not cruelty, it is liberation with intensity. And that is what happened to you, not because you were singled out for hardship, but because you were marked for expansion. Not because you did something wrong, but because you carried something more. Some of you have felt different since childhood, like you were listening to a song no one else could hear. You tried to fit. You tried to be normal. You tried to adopt the goals that were handed to you. And still, something in you kept whispering that your life was supposed to be about more than survival and achievement. That whisper did not leave you. It simply waited until you were ready to hear it as a call rather than a nuisance. Many of you are wondering right now whether you're awakening or simply falling apart, whether this is transformation or something much darker. That question, the one that has been living in your chest for months, maybe years, is exactly why I put together what I call the dark side of spiritual awakening. It is a complete guide with 13 chapters that map every phase of what you're moving through right now, not in vague spiritual language, but with clarity and precision. It includes 9 exclusive tools, shadow integration work, emergency cards for your hardest nights, 30 days of channeled guidance from me personally, sleep protocols, and more, all housed inside an app built specifically for souls on this journey, so it travels with you wherever you go. I want to be transparent with you. Access to this is only open for a limited window, and when I close it, I will not be reopening it. The link is waiting for you in the first pinned comment. If it still works when you arrive there, You are still on time. And I want to add something here, because I can feel the hesitation some of you carry around receiving help. You do not have to navigate the most disorienting spiritual territory of your life with guesswork as your only lantern. There is nothing noble about unnecessary suffering. There is nothing spiritually impressive about being alone in the dark when resources exist that can steady your hands and calm your nervous system. If you are in a season where your inner world feels like it has been turned inside out, structure is not the enemy of spirituality. It can be the container that keeps you safe while the transformation does its work. Now I want to walk with you through what has actually been happening beneath the surface of what you've been experiencing, because the confusion isn't a character flaw. It's a natural response to a process that no one adequately prepared you for. When people talk about awakening, they often speak as if it is a sunrise, gentle, warm, beautiful, illuminating. And yes, there is illumination, but what they don't always say is that the light can be blinding at first. When you have lived in a dim room for a long time, even a small lamp can sting your eyes. Awakening can feel like being flooded with truth before you have rearranged your life to hold it. It can feel like seeing the patterns you used to live inside and realizing you can't pretend you don't see them anymore. It can feel like the end of denial, and denial often feels like safety until the moment you outgrow it. So if you have felt confused, unmotivated, overwhelmed, sensitive, strangely detached from what used to matter, that is not a moral failure. That is the psyche doing what it must do when the soul begins to lead. When a soul contract moves into its next phase, and yours has, the first thing that shifts is the energetic infrastructure that was built to support the previous version of your life. Think of it like a river that has been flowing in one channel for a long time. The banks are deep and worn. The current knows exactly where to go. And then something shifts beneath the ground, a pressure, a movement, a reconfiguration, and the river begins to seek a new path. In that in-between moment, the water doesn't know where it's going yet. It pools, it backs up, it floods in places it has never touched before. It looks, from the surface, like chaos. But beneath the surface, something entirely intentional is occurring. New channels are being carved, a new landscape is being shaped, and when the water finally finds its new direction, and it always does, it flows with a power and a clarity it never had before, precisely because of the pressure that built during that pooling, that confusion, that frightening in-between. Let me make this even more intimate for you. When the river backs up, it reveals what was buried at the bottom. Mud rises, debris appears. Things you didn't even know were there float to the surface. In a human life, that debris can look like old grief you never processed, childhood memories that return unexpectedly, body sensations you can't explain, triggers that feel disproportionate, a sudden inability to tolerate dishonesty, even your own. It can look like realizing you've been living someone else's idea of success. It can look like discovering that the role you perfected was never the same thing as being known. The pooling is not a sign that you are stuck forever. It is a sign that you are between identities, and between identities, the nervous system panics because it cannot predict what comes next. But the soul is not panicking. The soul is carving. The soul is redirecting. That in-between place is where you are right now. The threshold, the corridor, the narrow bridge between what you were and what you are becoming. And corridors are not meant to be homes. They are meant to be crossed. If it feels cramped, if it feels uncertain, if it feels like you cannot decorate it into comfort, that is because you were never meant to settle there. You were meant to keep moving, even if the movement is slow, even if the movement is only internal, even if the movement is simply the choice to breathe and not give up on yourself today. The relationships that dissolved, I want to speak to this directly, because I know this is where so many of you carry the most weight. The friendships that faded without explanation. The partnerships that ended not with dramatic conflict, but with a slow, aching drift that left you questioning what you had done wrong. The family members who seem further away than they've ever been, even when you're in the same room. What I've observed across countless awakenings is that these separations are not random, and they are not failures of love. They are vibrational. When your frequency shifts, and yours has been shifting, gradually, and then suddenly, it becomes genuinely difficult for those who are calibrated to your previous frequency to remain in close proximity. Not because they don't love you, not because something is wrong with the bond, but because energy is honest in a way that our social roles often are not. The field around you is broadcasting something different now, something larger, and not everyone in your previous chapter was written into your next one. Sometimes the relationship ends because the agreement was completed. Some souls come to walk with you through a very specific stretch of road to teach you something, to activate something, to mirror something, and when the lesson is integrated, the relationship naturally loses its gravity. Sometimes the relationship ends because it was built on the version of you that was willing to shrink. When you stop shrinking, the structure can no longer stand. Sometimes the relationship ends because the other person cannot meet you in the honesty your frequency now requires. And sometimes, most painfully, the relationship ends not because anyone is evil, but because you are growing in different directions. Two trees can love the same sun and still not be planted in the same soil. I know that doesn't erase the ache, because the ache is not just about losing a person, it's about losing a future you imagined. It's about losing the comfort of familiarity. It's about losing the part of yourself that knew how to belong in that dynamic. Some of you are grieving not only who left, but who you were when they were near. And that grief is holy. It deserves to be honored rather than rushed. Even Jesus wept. Even the most awakened heart knows sorrow. Tears are not a lack of faith. They are often the evidence that your heart is real and open and still capable of love. I know that's painful. I'm not offering it to make the grief smaller. Grief for what was released is real and deserving of gentleness. What I'm offering is a frame that might allow you to hold that grief without turning it into a story about your unworthiness. Because that story, the one that says you were abandoned because you are too much, or not enough, or fundamentally difficult to love, that story is not the truth. It is the interpretation of a mind that has not yet caught up to what the soul already knows. The mind, when it is afraid, becomes a courtroom. It gathers evidence, it cross-examines your memories, it puts your past on trial. It says, if I can find the mistake, I can prevent the pain. But the soul is not interested in blame. The soul is interested in alignment. And alignment sometimes requires endings that the mind cannot justify. Let me say this clearly. Your worth was never dependent on someone staying. Your value was never dependent on someone understanding. Your lovability was never dependent on someone choosing you correctly. If a door closed, it does not mean you were unworthy of the room. It may mean the room was not built for the frequency you are becoming, and you do not belong in rooms that require you to turn down your light to keep others comfortable. You are the light of the world, the scripture says. Light does not apologize for shining. It simply shines, and what is meant to grow in that light will grow. The first thing that has helped many souls moving through this phase is what I would gently call allowing the restructuring without demanding a blueprint. I know this is difficult. The mind wants to understand what is happening before it will agree to stop resisting it. The mind wants a map, a timeline, a clear answer to the question of when this will resolve. And I want to sit with you in that desire rather than dismiss it. It is completely understandable. When you have lived through instability, clarity feels like safety. When you have been hurt, certainty feels like protection. When you have been blindsided, the mind becomes a vigilant guard, scanning the horizon for threats. So yes, you want to know. You want to know what this is, where it's going, and how long it will last. But what I've observed across so many journeys is that the demand for premature clarity often delays the very clarity being sought. When we grip the question so tightly that there is no room for the answer to arrive, the answer waits. It does not leave it, waits. There is a spiritual timing to revelation. Some truths cannot be given all at once because they would collapse the psyche. Some doors cannot be shown to you until you are ready to walk through them without running back to the old room out of fear. If you received the whole map today, you might try to control the journey rather than surrender to its intelligence. And the journey you are on is not a straight line. It is more like a spiral staircase, returning to similar themes at higher levels of awareness. So, gently, without any pressure, you might try allowing yourself to not know for a little longer. Not in resignation, not in despair, but in a conscious, chosen, softening of the grip around the need to understand immediately. Just a slight loosening, that alone begins to shift the field. You can practice this in small moments. When the mind asks, "What if I never feel like myself again?" You can answer, "I don't have to solve that today. When the mind says, "I need to know what my purpose is right now," you can answer, "I am allowed to be in process." When the mind says, "This should be over by now," you can answer, "My soul is not late." The second thing I've witnessed helping souls in this place is what I would describe as returning to the body during a time when the spirit is very loud. When an awakening intensifies, there is a natural pull toward the energetic, the spiritual, the expansive, and this is appropriate and beautiful. But the body is also going through something. The nervous system is processing frequencies it has never carried before. The physical vessel is being asked to hold more than it has previously been calibrated for. And many souls, in their focus on the spiritual dimensions of what is occurring, forget to tend the body with deep gentleness. Some of you have been treating your body like an inconvenience, like a heavy coat you have to drag behind you while your consciousness tries to fly. But your body is not an obstacle. It is the altar where your awakening becomes real. Your body is where the upgrades land. Your body is where intuition becomes sensation. Your body is where grief moves and where healing settles. If your body is neglected, the awakening becomes disorienting, like electricity with no grounding wire. So you might consider, if it feels right, grounding practices that ask you to return to physical sensation, not complicated rituals. Something as simple as bare feet on earth, letting the soil remind your nervous system what stability feels like. Warm water on your hands, as if you are rinsing off energies that were never yours to carry. A meal prepared slowly and eaten without distraction, telling your cells, "We are safe enough to receive nourishment." A slow walk, where you notice the color of the sky, the shape of a leaf, the rhythm of your breath. Even a hand on your belly, breathing into it, reminding your system that you are here, now, in this moment, and this moment is survivable. The body is not separate from your awakening, it is the vehicle through which your awakening is occurring. Tending it tenderly honors the whole of the process. And sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is sleep, hydrate, eat, and let your nervous system exhale. The third thing that has helped many souls is gently releasing the timeline comparison. I've watched so many beautiful awakening souls torture themselves with the spiritual journeys of others, looking at someone who appears to be moving through their transformation with grace and ease, and turning that observation into evidence that their own struggle is a sign of failure. But comparison is a thief of truth. It steals your attention from your own sacred unfolding and spends it on a story you cannot verify. What I want to offer here is something I've come to understand deeply. You are not seeing the whole of another soul's journey. You are seeing the fragment they have chosen to make visible. You are seeing curated light, not the private nights. You are seeing someone's integration after their collapse, not the collapse itself. You are seeing the garden, not the months underground when the seed looked like nothing. Every soul in genuine transformation moves through their own version of the nights you've been having, their own version of the confusion and the grief and the loss of direction. The difference is only in timing, in expression, in what is shared and what is held privately. Your timeline is not behind anyone else's, it is yours, and it is unfolding with a precision that your conscious mind cannot yet fully perceive. Some souls have gentle awakenings because their path requires gradual expansion. Some souls have intense awakenings because their mission requires a faster recalibration. Some souls awaken through love, some through loss, some through illness, some through synchronicity, some through being cracked open by beauty. There is no hierarchy of awakenings. There is only the awakening that is true for you. And if yours is intense, it is not because you are failing. It may be because you are strong enough to be honest, and because the frequency you carry cannot be diluted. The fourth step, and this one, I offer with particular care because I know how much resistance it meets, is allowing yourself to receive, not just transmit. Souls carrying high frequencies often develop a deep orientation toward giving, toward holding space for others, toward offering comfort and wisdom and presence to everyone in their circle. And this is a genuine gift. It is a form of service. It is often part of your soul's signature, but I've observed something in many of these souls, a deep difficulty receiving the same care they offer so freely, a subtle belief that their needs are somehow less legitimate, less urgent, less worthy of attention than the needs of those they serve. And sometimes beneath that, there is fear. If I receive, will I owe? If I lean, Will I be abandoned? If I let someone help me, will they see how much I'm carrying and decide I'm too much? I want to name this pattern gently because it is very common in awakening souls, and it quietly depletes the very energy field that makes their service possible. A channel that only pours out eventually runs dry. Even the most luminous lighthouse requires maintenance. Even the most generous heart needs replenishment. Receiving is not weakness. Receiving is spiritual intelligence. It is humility. It is allowing the universe to love you through other hands. Ask, and it shall be given you, the scripture says. But many of you ask silently and then reject what arrives because it doesn't come in the package you expected. You might gently begin to notice, just notice, without forcing any change, the moments when care is offered to you and you redirect it, minimize it, or decline it. Notice the impulse to say, "I'm fine," when you are not. Notice the way your body tightens when someone offers support, not because you need to change immediately, but because noticing is the beginning of a new relationship with receiving. And when you do allow yourself to receive a conversation, a meal, a hug, a listening ear, a therapist, a mentor, a resource, you are not burdening anyone. You are letting love complete its circuit. The fifth thing I've seen, help, is what I might call making peace with the version of yourself who did not know better. So much of the energetic weight that awakening souls carry is grief and shame about past chapters, decisions made from a level of consciousness that has since expanded, words spoken from wounds that have since been tended, choices that belong to a version of yourself that was doing their absolute best with what they understood at the time. Many of you look back, and you don't just remember what happened, you punish yourself for it. You replay it like a sentence. You imagine that if you had been wiser, more spiritual, more healed, you would have avoided the pain. But I want you to consider something. You cannot demand enlightenment from a past self who was still learning how to survive. You cannot require emotional mastery from someone who was still bleeding. You cannot condemn yourself for acting from the tools you had at the time. The council does not look at your past with judgment. What I see when I look at those chapters is not failure. I see a soul gathering experience, gathering contrast, gathering the very material that now feeds the depth of your compassion and your wisdom. I see you learning discernment through what you tolerated. I see you learning boundaries through what you overgave. I see you learning self-respect through the moments you abandoned yourself and felt the cost. You could not have arrived here without having walked there. Every step was part of the path, even the ones you wish you could revise, especially those. If you could go back and remove every mistake, you would also remove the tenderness you now have for others. You would remove the depth that lets you recognize pain in someone else's eyes. You would remove the humility that comes from learning. So when shame rises, place a hand on it as if it is a frightened child and say, "I see you, but you don't get to run my life anymore." Forgiveness is not pretending it didn't matter. Forgiveness is acknowledging that you have grown, and that growth is the point. The sixth thing, and I offer this as an invitation, not a requirement, is beginning to speak to your future self. Not the self you intend to become through effort and discipline, the self who has already moved through this passage, the one who is, in some dimension of consciousness, already standing in the spaciousness that lies on the other side of this compression. Time, in the way the soul experiences it, is not as linear as the mind insists. The future self is not a fantasy, it is a frequency. It is a version of you who has integrated what you are currently processing. And when you speak to that self, you are tuning your system to the reality that healing is not only possible, it is already in motion. You might try, in quiet moments, writing a few words from that self back to yourself now. Not polished, not perfect, just honest. I know you're tired. I know you think you ruined everything. You didn't. Keep going. Or simply sitting quietly and asking, what would the healed version of games, me, want me to know today? You may be surprised by what arrives. Not as a dramatic revelation, but as a quiet knowing. A gentle shift in how the day feels. A softened edge around your fear. A subtle courage you didn't have yesterday. Trust what comes, even if it seems too simple to be significant. Often the most divine guidance is simple, because truth does not need to perform. It simply is. And sometimes the message will not be words at all. Sometimes it will be the sudden urge to clean your space, to drink water, to call one person, to step outside, to rest, Do not underestimate practical guidance. Spirit often speaks through the ordinary, because the ordinary is where you live. And the seventh thing, the one I return to again and again because it anchors everything else, is this: rest in the evidence of how far you have already come. I mean this with great seriousness. The soul who arrived at the beginning of this transmission is not the same soul who began the journey that brought them here. You have already changed. You have already shifted. You have already done enormous work, much of it invisible, most of it uncelebrated. And invisibility does not mean insignificance. Some of the greatest transformations happen in private, in the moments no one applauds. The moment you didn't send the message that would have reopened the wound. The moment you chose to eat, even though you had no appetite. The moment you paused before reacting and felt your trigger without letting it drive. The moment you admitted, even silently, this isn't working anymore. These moments are spiritual milestones. The very fact that you are here seeking, listening, reaching towards something your heart cannot yet fully articulate is evidence of a commitment that most souls around you cannot yet understand. That commitment deserves acknowledgement, not comparison, not measurement against some ideal of where you should be. Just honest acknowledgement of where you are and how much it cost to get here and how much courage it continues to require. Some of you are still getting up and going to work with a heart that feels like it's being reshaped. Some of you are parenting while dismantling old generational patterns inside your own chest. Some of you are smiling in public while your private world is being rebuilt. Please do not diminish what you are doing simply because it doesn't look dramatic from the outside. Heaven recognizes quiet endurance. You were not broken when the old structures fell. You were being freed from them. You were not abandoned when the relationships shifted. You were being redirected toward what your next chapter requires. You were not failing when the confusion set in. You were integrating frequencies that your system had never been asked to hold before. And integration is messy. Integration is slow. Integration is the sacred work of making the spiritual practical, of letting the truth become embodied. It is the difference between having an insight and becoming the insight. Dear one, I want you to carry one thing with you when you leave this transmission. Not a technique, not a practice, just this. The pain that brought you here was purposeful, not in a way that required you to suffer unnecessarily. I would never say that, and I do not believe it. But in the way that all great restructuring requires dismantling first. The old form cannot become the new form without passing through a period of formlessness. And formlessness, that uncertain, unmapped, frightening middle space, is where you have been living. It is not your destination, it is your passage. In spiritual traditions across the world, there is always a name for this place: the dark night, the wilderness, the void, the cocoon, the underworld journey. It is the place where the old self cannot come with you, but the new self has not fully arrived, and it can feel like nothing is happening. It can feel like you are stagnant, but inside the cocoon, everything is happening. The caterpillar is not idle. It is being rewritten, and the rewriting is not pretty to witness from the inside. And passages, by their very nature, lead through to somewhere. A tunnel is not a tomb. A winter is not a punishment. A pruning is not rejection. For everything there is a season, it is written. A time to break down and a time to build up. If you are in the breaking down season, it does not mean you missed the building up season. It means it is coming. But first, the false must fall. First, the weight must be removed. First, the soul must be given room. You are moving through. And the other side of this is not a return to who you were before any of this happened. It is an arrival into who you were always meant to become. Some of you secretly want the old life back, not because it was aligned, but because it was familiar. You want the version of you who knew how to operate. You want the certainty of old routines. But the soul does not evolve by going backward. It evolves by integrating what was learned and stepping forward with new eyes. And new eyes cannot unsee what they have seen. So the invitation is not to recreate the old world, but to build a new one that can actually hold your truth. I believe that. Not because the path has been easy for you, it hasn't, and I honor that fully, but because you're still here, because you've been showing up, even on the days when showing up meant nothing more than breathing through another hour. That kind of tenacity in the human spirit is what the Council recognizes as readiness. Not perfection, not ease, tenacity, presence. the willingness to remain open even when everything within you wants to close. Some of you have been tempted to shut down emotionally, to numb out, to disappear, and yet something in you keeps choosing life. Even if it's quiet, even if it's fragile, that choice matters. It is a frequency, it is an oath, it is the soul saying, "I will not abandon myself." Tonight, if you feel moved to do so, you might place your hand gently over your heart and simply acknowledge aloud, or in the quiet of your own mind, that you have survived everything this far, that your frequency is expanding, not diminishing, even when it feels precisely the opposite, that what has been falling away was not your foundation, it was the scaffolding around a foundation that is stronger than you have yet had the chance to discover. Feel the difference between scaffolding and foundation. Scaffolding is what is built around a structure while it is under construction. It is useful, but temporary. It can look like the structure itself if you don't know what you're seeing. Many of you mistook your coping mechanisms for your identity. You mistook your roles for your essence. You mistook your achievements for your worth. And when those things began to fall away, you panicked because you thought you were losing your foundation, but you weren't. You were losing the temporary supports. And beneath them is something solid. Your consciousness, your integrity, your capacity to love, your connection to the divine, your resilience, your truth. You don't need to feel anything profound when you do this. You don't need to feel anything at all. Just let the acknowledgement rest there, like a seed placed in winter ground. It knows what to do. So do you. A seed does not dig itself up every day to check if it's working. It rests. It trusts the intelligence written into it. It lets darkness do its quiet labor. Some of you have been digging yourself up, checking your progress, panicking when you can't see results. But transformation often happens below the surface first. Let it. Give it time. Give yourself patience. If something in this message touched a place you have been keeping quiet, I gently invite you to share what stirred in you below. Not because the words need an audience, but because speaking truth aloud, even in a comment on a screen, is an act of integration. It makes real what might otherwise remain feeling. And if you see someone else's words there, offer them a moment of your warmth. We are all walking through our own version of this passage. A small gesture of recognition across that space matters more than you might think. There are people who will read your words and realize they are not alone for the first time in weeks. There are people who will find language for what they could not explain. There are people whose nervous systems will soften simply because someone else dared to be honest. Community is not always a room you sit in together. Sometimes it is a thread of truth connecting strangers across distance, reminding the soul that it is part of something larger than its private fear. If someone you love is moving through their own form of this restructuring, and you sense that this transmission might reach something in them they have been unable to reach alone, please pass it along. The greatest gifts we give are often simply the ones that said what we couldn't find words for ourselves. Sometimes love is not advice. Sometimes love is not fixing. Sometimes love is simply offering a mirror that reflects hope when a person cannot generate it on their own. And if you would like to continue these conversations because this was only one thread of a much longer transmission, I will be here. Subscribe and return whenever you need to. The door is always open, not as a demand, not as pressure, but as a steady lantern on the path. Because some days you will feel clear and strong, and some days you will feel like you're back at the beginning. And on those days, you may need to hear again what is true. That you are not failing, you are transforming. That you are not lost, you are between coordinates. That you are not too late, you are right on time for your own soul. Thank you for sitting with me in this. Thank you for your courage in seeking. Carry what serves you, leave what doesn't, and know with complete certainty that you are not walking this path alone. You never were.